Hey everyone, it's Jamie back with JCC or with SportsThreads.com again. Here with Coach Stevens with the Wellston baseball program, and we got the five seniors down here. Looks like they're I don't know if they're putting in work or if it's just making them look like they're putting in work. Sitting by the weight benches. Coach Stevens, a little bit about last year. You guys had a pretty good tournament run. Tell us, what all you guys achieved last year, uh, you know, that had some excitement built up for the program coming into this year.
Well, we had always our goal is to compete for a league championship. The league was pretty well stacked last year. There was a lot of upperclassmen in other programs, juniors. And then this year it was going to be really entertaining because everybody had all seniors back. So I was really looking forward to playing this year just to see how that would pan out. And then our tournament run, we started out with a home game against Chesapeake. I think we beat them in 5 innings, and then we played Oak Hill for the sectional title. And we played Oak Hill earlier in the year, and it got suspended due to weather. And it was a really competitive game. I think that game was suspended in maybe the 5th inning or something like that. But it was a really competitive game back and forth. And then, when we played them in the sectional title, there was 2 really good pitching performances from both sides. We had Hunter on the mound, and he threw a whale of a game. And then they had the Larmer kid that was either their number 1 or number 2 guy. I think him and Clutters kind of split the 1 role. And we didn't get to him until, I think, the 5th inning. If I'm not mistaken, I think Ryland started it out, and then I think Mo hit a gapper to score Ryland, give us a 1-0 lead. And then we scored all 4 of our runs in that 1 inning, and we were up 4-0. And then in the bottom of the 6th inning, there was 2 guys on, and then the Clutters kid came to the plate. We'll blame it on Coach Graham for the pitch that he called. We always have an inside joke on that, but Clutters put a good swing on it and hit it over the left center field fence. So it was a 4-3 game, and then we thought it was time to take Hunter out, and we brought Timothy in. Timothy didn't throw a lot in the starting role. He was more of an inning to 2 inning guy towards the end of the year, and he came in those last couple innings and shut the door on that. And it was really exciting for our program. I know that's something that we've been striving for, is to get to the VA, and we finally did that. That was the first league or the first sectional title that we had won in baseball in 9 years. And looking back on it, that's as much tradition as Wellston baseball has had. That was kind of hard to believe that it's been that long since we won a sectional title. So I was really happy for our kids. It gave our community something to get excited about. And then we went to the VA, and we faced a really good Minford team. I think they made it all the way to the regional finals. We played okay over there. We didn't play our best. We played really well early, I thought. And then things kind of got away from us. But I was really excited to come back this year because we only lost 2 guys. We lost our first baseman and left fielder, and everybody else was coming back, and those other spots were they were going to be filled. So I was really excited to see what this year holds, and unfortunately, we weren't able to get that done. So.
Yeah, I remember going to the game at the VA. And I think you hit the head. Just the luck of the draw. Memphis was a real good baseball team. I remember you guys jumping out on them early, if I'm not mistaken.
I think our first 3 guys were our first 3 guys in the top of the 1st inning. All 3 guys hit the ball hard, and I think we scored a run in the 1st inning. Was up 1-0, and I don't think we did much after that, but it was pretty exciting for a while anyway. We had a rain delay in there as well. So.
And then the worst part of the rain delay is I had to get snuggled up with Terry Gill of all people.
Oh, yeah.
So, with that, having that first sectional title in 9 years, coming back, like you said, um, bringing 7 returners back, uh, obviously losing anybody hurts, but when you got 7 guys coming back, I'm sure you felt good coming into the season. Not real knowledgeable in the PVC when it comes to baseball, but if what I can remember correctly, I think Benton County was going to be loaded this year as well. And then I think Athens is always pretty loaded. How do you think you guys would have stacked up this year?
I think the Tri-Valley would have been very, very competitive from top to bottom. Athens, I think, would have been the favorite to win. They would have everybody back except maybe 1 or 2 guys. They would have their top 2 or 3 pitchers back. Meigs would have been really, really good. They had a freshman coming in that was going to throw in the mid 80s. Plus, they only lost a couple guys. Alexander would have been very competitive, and Vinton County would have been very competitive with their lefty. I can't think of his name right now, but he's a very, very good pitcher. So all the way from top to bottom, you get into those league games where you're playing, 3 league games in a week. You would have to try to determine your pitching rotation and things like that. And, I think it would have got really, really interesting, especially the second time around. If you would have seen teams number 1 the first time around, what would have happened the second time around. So I think the league would have been very, very competitive every league game, and not just with us, but every other teams that were matching up as well. I think those would have been very competitive games too.
Yeah. So obviously the reason why we're on here, was to go over a little bit about it, a little bit about the baseball program and where it's at. But then, these 5 guys down here at the bottom of the screen, I know that all of them, and I know that, growing up, when they were kids, they put work in, from a young age all the way through, whether it be baseball or football. Actually, and then it's kind of like, a physical therapist's dream, a couple of them, because I'm sure they've made some money off of them, over the last couple of years working on their arm. But if you want, Coach, maybe just go one by one and say a little bit about the 5 seniors we got down here.
Yeah, I'll just start as they are on my screen. The first one on my screen is Timothy. He's been a 4-year player for us, and he's battled through some injuries. He's had a lot of arm trouble, but I think he was ready for the first time since his freshman year. I think he was going to be ready to go on the mound. And with that being said, I honestly think that he could have been one of the top tier pitchers in the Southeast District. He's got good velo on his fastball. He's got a really good bender. A lot of things that would make him a quality pitcher. And not only that, but he's a pretty good shortstop, and he swings a pretty good bat as well. So I really wanted to see all these guys play their senior year, because I know, looking back, that whenever I first took over the position as the baseball coach, these guys were in junior high, and I was like, man, I cannot wait till these guys, come through and we could see, kind of see how it unfolds for them. And unfortunately, that last year, they're supposed to be their biggest year of their career. That didn't happen, but it is what that is. The next guy is Hunter, Mo. Mo's one of those guys, man, that he's committed to play at Rio. And I was telling his dad the other day, I said, man, he's going to fit in well down there, because Coach Warnermont's a tough-nosed guy, and, Hunter's a tough-nosed kid. So those guys are going to gel pretty well together. Hunter's one of the toughest kids I've ever coached, man. He never complained about anything, and he would always ask, what he could do. And I was really looking forward to seeing him develop into one of our top 1 or 2 pitchers in our rotation. And this year that was going to happen for sure. And as a defensive catcher, he's also our catcher. So he's definitely one of the best I've coached at the catching position. And with that being said, I really didn't have to do much defensively with him as a catcher. He had pretty much all the fundamentals that you want to see in a catcher. He had all those pretty much down to a T. Hitting wise, he came along really well last year, and I think he actually was going to. He hit leadoff for us, I think, last year, and this year I was looking for him at one of those power RBI spots. So in the 3, 4, 5 holes, somewhere around in there, probably 4. So he can hit 1 through 9 in lineup wherever you put him. He's going to be productive. So I was really looking forward to seeing him as well. The next guy is Garrett over there. Garrett's who we call Stiffy, Coach Graham, and Coach Graham and Garrett, they go back and forth a lot. They're kind of like brothers. They have a lot of jokes for each other. But Garrett started playing last year again for us. I don't think you played until was last year. You played your 7th or 8th grade year, something like that. Yeah, and he didn't play his freshman or sophomore year, and then he came out last year and played his junior year, and I'm so glad he did. I this downtime is for baseball anyway has kind of made you look back and think about the relationships that you made with these young men, and so glad that some of these guys that didn't play did come out and play, because you finally got to kind of know who they were. And, I knew who Garrett was. I knew who Rylan was, but I really didn't get to know them as a person. And I'm glad that they came out to play. So, that's probably one of the biggest rewards for those two guys anyway, for me, is just getting to know who they were and what kind of personalities they have. And they're both great young men. So Rylan, I tell you, he was kind of on the fence about playing this year. And after last year, man, I was really excited. He would always get frustrated offensively and he was another guy that didn't play since, I don't know, junior high or maybe even 6th grade year. I don't know, but he came out last year, and he was always down on himself because of offensively. But when you take that long off, that's what's going to lack the most is your offensive, just because it's all about timing and speed. And but towards the end of the year, man, he was hitting lines to left center field and hitting balls back up the middle and things like that. So I think that was going to start coming around. And I tell you, defensively, Rylan is without a doubt one of the best outfielders and probably the top center fielder that I've ever had. He could cover a gap, left center to right center like no other. I mean, there was balls hit last year. I think one time was against Oak Hill in that sectional game. Clutters hit one, the first time or second time he was up to bat. He hit one to left center, and it may have been 5 feet from the fence, and Rylan was camped underneath the ball. He gets great reads on the ball. He's got great speed, and he just does a really good job out there, and I was really looking forward to seeing him again. Let's see, Zane, last one. Zane's been through a lot. He's been through 2 knee surgeries and rehabbing and trying to get back. And even though Coach Graham charges him arm and a leg to use the weight room up there, I'm just glad he's up there. And he's been trying to get back, man. And I really wanted to see him as well. I don't know if he would have been 100%, but he would have been pretty close, I think. Especially towards the end of the year, just to see him, what he really could have done, because he didn't play. He really didn't play in from his freshman year. So, I mean, his sophomore year, he had a torn ACL, and then last year he was playing on a torn ACL that they didn't really know until after the season. He had another MRI done, but just unfortunate for him that he had to go through some of those injuries. And he worked so hard both times to get back to play, and just really wanted to see those guys play. And I feel bad for him, but I know talking to them, they're upset about it, but they're all 5 going to do great things when they go on. I think 3 of them's going to go play at Rio, and the other 2 are going to OU, and they got great plans ahead of them.
Good deal. The one thing that I was thinking about too on this to get you guys, you seniors involved, is Normally when you guys have your sports banquets or whatnot, the coach gets to go talk about the kids, kind of like, Coach Stevens just did, and then you guys walk up and, get your awards and whatnot. But you guys don't ever get a chance to come back at Coach. And this is a perfect opportunity. Funny story. Just go one by one. We'll start with Timothy. Either give us some dirt on Coach or give us some, story of Coach.
Let's not get any dirt. Let's not get any dirt now. Let's stay away from that.
I know he hates losing. Last year, our junior year, he lost to River Valley.
He hates losing.
After that game, he has some stuff to say about that. So he always loved to win. He hated losing. And
we felt the thunder after that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty after the game. Not at all.
So you got your guys' attention, basically.
That was River Valley's only win, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Timothy, for rubbing that in.
Morgan's got a hold of the mouse right now. It's like squeezing it. He probably had to run along. Hunter?
So I remember at the beginning of last year, this is a funny story. We were playing Pikeman in scrimmage. And, I think, was it you, Rylan, that was running around third? Or who was that?
No, I was in the dugout.
Well, they had these orange fences up to block off a part of the field. And, Coach Stevens, he was all excited. He was waving someone through to go home from third. And it wasn't looking behind him, and he tripped over the orange fence and fell on his back. Everybody started laughing in the dugout. That's a funny story.
I was about 6 inches from those metal stakes that they pounded in the ground to hold that thing up too.
Yeah.
Garrett?
My most memorable thing I had with Coach Stevens was probably him hitting outfield, honestly. Those were always good times. Play a little fungo golf. So that's really what I got about him.
Did he still try to use his power even when he was hitting fungo?
Oh, you can try to hit him over the fence every single time.
There wasn't no trying to it, Garrett.
You can always hear him grind. It's a baseball.
Yeah.
What was he hitting from the plate or was he hitting from first base?
Oh, he got as close as he could through the grass.
Rylan?
I guess the memory that I have was this year before the season started. He called all the baseball players down that wanted to play, and I didn't go down there. And then I had to run a paper down for a teacher, and I forgot they were down there. So I went through Jeff's office to get away from him, so I had to talk to him. I went upstairs, and I waited for him to run out. So I ran all the way back to my room, and then I sat down, and I got a text from Coach Stevens says, "Where are you at?" So then he made me walk all the way down there. That's probably the most memorable part I had of him. Man,
That was when I told you. I said, listen, in all my years of coaching, I've never ever begged somebody to play. I'm not begging you to play, but I really want you to play.
Yeah, I'm glad he asked me to play, though, because I really did enjoy it. And I forgot how much I enjoyed it until I went to the practices again.
Yeah. I'm glad you came out.
Zane?
I like it was every pregame when we do infield. And Coach Stevens hitting ground balls, and you got Jeremiah Hunter behind the plate. He's always trying to hit the ball backwards every time. It might take him 3 tries. He finally gets it, and he is so excited when he does. It's like he won everything you could imagine.
I always try to pop it up to the catcher, hitting it up in the air, and I was getting really good at it until we had a COVID or whatever that is. Yeah. Something about Zane too. Zane is the first guy that I've coached that I graduated with his dad. So a lot of the other guys here, I've went to school with their dad, but not in the same graduating class. So that tells you how old we are.
Yeah, I know, and it just seems like the years are going faster and faster.
Yeah, no doubt.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you guys is looking. I've got a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. I think most of them know. And I know a lot of you guys have played travel baseball, travel sports. I know you football guys put work in 12 months out of the year. And knowing what I know about you five, I know that there's really definitely not a lack of work ethic, in any of the five of you. So I guess my question would be that, to each one of you is, did you ever get to that point, seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, that you kind of hit the burnout stage and you had to go through something that got you going again? We'll start with Timothy.
Well, I always want to be the best player that I can be, and working hard is one of the things you got to do to be the best. So then probably about my sophomore year, after I had my elbow surgery, I really didn't like the game as much as I used to, because my junior year wasn't so good because I hurt my shoulder. And I really didn't I kind of turned away from the game a little bit, but now that I'm committed to Rio, I'm kind of wanting to play again. So I got to keep working hard.
Right, absolutely. Hunter?
I remember playing all through middle school. It was 8th grade basketball season. I started getting a little pain in my knees, and I didn't know what it was. I started getting bumps in my knees, started swelling up. So I decided to stop playing basketball to get ready for baseball. And then I come the baseball season, and of course I'm a catcher, so my legs are tired anyways, and I'm using my legs a lot. It was called Osgood Slaughter. That was why my knee was pumping up, and then I felt a lot of pain from it. And my 8th grade year, I didn't really enjoy it as much. I kept having the pain, and then I went to the doctor. I got it all fixed out, and then as soon as I got that cleared up, I decided to focus on baseball, and I've loved it ever since.
Right. Garrett?
My year is probably middle school. Whenever I just got done playing baseball, I think I stopped 7th or 8th grade. I wanted to focus on football. My mind was in different sports. I realized my freshman year I hated basketball, so I stopped playing basketball and decided I need to pick up something else. And I really wanted to play baseball, but I also wanted to focus on football. But my junior year, I just finally said, heck with it, and decided to play baseball, and I'm glad I did. I wish I would have played all 4 years.
Right, sounds good. Rylan?
I remember when I realized I was done with baseball, I played for Iron City Bats, and we were playing the Black Sox, which I think had Timothy and Hunter. Hunter was on my team. I think Timothy was on the Black Sox. I can't remember.
Yeah.
We were playing at the Jackson Middle School field, and it was really cold. My toes got really, really cold. I started crying because I was so cold. I was like in 5th grade. And I told Dad, I said, please take me home. So he took me home, and then I finished the rest of that season out, and then my 6th grade year, we played for the Monarchs, me and Garrett did, and we didn't win a single game. Our coach left us, and no one could find him. He just kind of fell off, and it was the opposite. It was really, really hot, and I was standing in the outfield where I always play, and that's when I told him I played for 5 weeks, and then I was done, and then that's when I got burned out of it because I was either really, really cold or really, really hot. And then I didn't play at all middle school years. And then obviously like Garrett did. Garrett and Zane talked me into playing again. So I decided to play again, and I enjoyed it ever since. But yeah, that was like my 6th grade years when I was burnt out, I guess you could say, because I was too cold. My toes were too cold.
Right. And then, you mentioned your dad, and Coach Stevens mentioned he, graduated with Zane's dad. And then, looking at, and Coach Stevens, is, I guess I never thought of it. I guess I'm glad you told me how old I was again. But, sitting there in that picture, you got my best friend my senior year, a guy graduated ahead of me, and then, obviously Justin graduated behind me. So that picture there shows my age as well. Zane, what you got for us?
So I can't say I've ever truly been burnt out on baseball, but I did get kind of tired of it around my freshman year just because I traveled all my life and then played, the fall ball and then school ball and everything else. And I honestly think, with my ACL surgeries, I think it was kind of like a blessing in disguise in a way, because with that happening, it set me back. So it was like it gave me something to work towards. So like ever since, I just kind of been working my butt off to get back to where I was, and even before that. So I think even to this point, I still got a lot of work to put in. I'm back to where it's just like I love the game with everything in me, and I kind of think that with the ACL tear, it was like, okay, now it's time we go. We're not burnt out anymore. Go and see what we can do.
Right. I don't know if you guys had a chance to listen. We got on here with Phillips last night, and it was a pretty colorful conversation, to say the least. For those of you that know. But at the end of it, we were just kind of BSing around, and a good question got brought up, and I wanted to ask you guys the same thing today. And then we'll kind of wrap things up with Coach Stevens. But if you 5 guys had a sentence or two to say to any of the young underclassmen coming in on anything that you guys have learned, and what Wellston means to you, what the baseball program means to you, what would you say to them, as you guys are graduating and moving on? Timothy?
It's a great place to play. The community comes together a lot, and all the support we get from everybody around the town of Wellston, it really means a lot to me. And yeah, that's about it.
Go ahead.
Playing at Wellston, you get like a lot of support from the community. Everybody seems like a family, and they want to help other people out. And I think most underclassmen are afraid to give it a try, and I think if they give it a try, they'll find out they like it really.
Garrett?
Like they said, the community is real close. That's what I really like about sports in Wellston is everyone comes out to watch you. Big thing with the baseball thing is I like to win. I'm a sore loser really bad, and I found that with baseball. We had great coaches. They help you with anything. They do anything for you. So if you want to win, I play baseball.
Rylan?
Just like piggybacking all of them, the community does come together really well. That's why I really appreciate it from Wellston. Wellston is like a true home. I don't just say it's home to be cliche. It's like home. I don't want to go anywhere else. Never want to play anywhere else. And just a sentence I always liked. I always kind of kept to myself. But in Wellston, we are way more than what people say we are. Outsiders always talk bad about Wellston. But in my opinion, and what it's actually just reality, just not opinion, Wellston is way more than what everyone else says we are.
I definitely agree with that. Zane?
The baseball program and anything, its memories are going to last forever. And even with baseball, the coaches aren't just coaches. They're like your best. You talk to them about anything, they're there for you always. They can be your friend at times, and they know when to be a coach and when to put their foot down for things. They'll help you anytime you need it. Doesn't matter, just baseball. They're there with you through anything. And I think that's something that, it's real important.
Right. Coach Stevens, when I called you about this the other day, I think your exact words were, how much I love to talk. So to wrap things up, you got these 5 guys that you've spent a lot of time with, and you didn't have the opportunity to coach them this year, obviously with the Corona going around. But go ahead and give them that farewell speech.
Yeah, they know how I feel about them. I tell them all the time I love them, and I'll probably say that more than what their mom and dad, or probably just as much as what they do. But those guys really mean a lot to me. Every time that you have a senior class, that you get to see them come through and see how much they develop, not just baseball skill-wise, but maturity level, and how they develop as a person. You get to see that. Over the times, even my own family says you spend more time with those guys than you do your own family during the season. And that statement's so true. When the season starts off, in late February, whenever you get that first practice in until usually until the middle of May or end of May, you're with those guys pretty much 6 days a week. And, sometimes, they're probably thinking, God, does this guy ever go away? But, it's just I really wanted to see these guys play their senior year. They've worked, every one of them, all 5 of them has worked really hard. And, there's no doubt in my mind that all 5 of these guys are going to be successful in whatever career path that they take. And, it's not just because that they're my guys or they're my players or they come through the baseball system. Every one of these guys have played another sport at some point in their life as well. I would say that every coach that they've ever had would say the same exact thing. I'm sure Coach Smith would say the same thing about Ryland and Garrett, from their football standpoint, that, they're just great people. And their families should be proud of them. Their mom and dads should be really proud of them. They've raised 5 great young men there. And, it's tough. It's going to be tough for them, for their parents to see them go away to college or to the workforce or whatever they're going to do. But I know that they're going to be proud of them just like I am. I hate it. Some of my colleagues here at school, Mrs. Hammond was talking the other day that her son Braxton used to play with Zane and Timothy and Hunter, and she just hates it for those guys that they don't get to play their senior year in sport or in baseball. And, whenever this first happened, and the first time I had to talk to them about, we're shut down for 2 weeks, I think the first shutdown was. And, the first time I had to tell them, I'm thinking, okay, in 2 weeks we'll be back. We're going to lose 2 weeks of practice time, but we'll be back. We'll get things going. I know how hard they work. We're not going to be that far behind. We're just going to be in the same boat as everybody else. Then the second shutdown came along for a little bit longer. I'm thinking, God, are we going to get to play? And then, when he finally, OHSA was debating on what to do in that time frame. I honestly think that they were just buying time. They knew, I don't know if they knew what they were going to do, but I think that they were just buying some time until the governor pulled the plug. Whenever he said that schools are done, that's when, and it just makes sense. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. It's just, once those schools were closed for the rest of the year, there were going to be no athletics. And, whenever that announcement came out, man, my heart just sank for all 5 of those guys. For our whole team, but especially for these 5 guys that don't get to go out on the field one last time to play their senior year. I was telling Coach Irvin, I was saying, think about that. You go back to our senior year and you start practice for 2 weeks, and then someone says that you can't play your whole entire senior season. How would that make you feel? And it's all those emotions bottled up into one. You want to fight somebody, you want to scream, you want to cry. All those things are, all those emotions are going at the same time. And